Hello, Comic Collectors Guild members. Happy New Comic Book Day. This is Wes, also known as Comics Addicts on Instagram. And today we have a special guest from our Comic Collectors Guild administration. This is Jake Fogg from Washington, D.C., also known as Superman 14JF. How's it going, Jake?
I'm good. It's nice to be on the other end of the mic this time. This is awesome. What's up, guys?
So, those of you who are out there may not know this, but Jake is sort of like my boss. He's the director of YouTube over at the Comic Collectors Guild, and so he is the one who has given you and blessed you with this show. Thank you, Jake, for giving us the opportunity.
That's all you, man. Like you're the genius mastermind here.
Well, I still appreciate the opportunity to do it. So you have been working for the Guild now for how long?
I joined last year. I want to say so it's been about a year now that I've been with the Guild. It's been incredible.
And you started off as a member like everybody else?
Yeah, I just started as a basic member. I remember one of my best friends that I went to kindergarten with joined the Guild, and he's actually the guy who introduced me to statues as well. And I saw a post the part of this community, and I was like, it's hard enough to find people that are, into the same stuff and collecting and talking about these characters. So I was like, oh man, hey, I'll take a shot in the dark and see if I can get in. Got accepted. And then pretty not long after that, I received a Sideshow Batman statue, and always wanted to do my own version of a podcast or a video cast or something like that. So I just did a random minute and a half review of the Batman statue and put it up, and sure enough, Izzy, who's the president and founder of the Comic Collectors Guild, saw it and was like, hey, that was really, really good. Would you like to be our spokesperson for YouTube and stuff like that? And I was like, absolutely. So it kind of I was probably a member for a couple of weeks, and then, they approached me about it, and rest is history, and been doing content ever since.
So what sort of things do you do in your job as YouTube editor?
For me, basically, me, LT, and Izzy, we really game plan, for a long time what kind of content we would like to put out there. Obviously, the Guild is a mixture of, people who are really into the comic books, collect action figures, the statues, cosplayers, all of the above. So trying to find content that, a little bit of content for everybody. So for me, it's just trying to come up with concepts that I think would be interesting for members, as well as people that are not members and just part of, geek culture and in the comic community, that would be interesting for them. So we're still learning, obviously, the technology part of it, we still have to improve on, and hopefully, we can get up to, a certain level someday, but, just really just talking about these characters that we love, whether it's DC or Marvel. And what's cool about it is, trying to, find characters that everybody likes. You end up running into new characters that I didn't read about before, and, try and bring content for those people. So it's been really fun, whether we talk about movie countdowns or comic books or just specific characters. We just really try and cover all fronts. So it's just constantly trying to think of new content to put out there for everybody.
And one of the things I appreciated about the Guild that I didn't see with some of the other groups is how inclusive it was, and how it welcomed all different types of people in geek culture.
Yeah, and too, a lot of them, you have to have this massive collection to even get in. And, the Comic Collectors Guild's not like that. It's hey, if you're interested in this stuff, but you're new to it, or you're just trying to get in, they welcome everyone with open arms. And, I likewise, I really appreciated that, especially because I didn't have much of a collection when I first joined. Now I do, but it's something you have to accumulate over time. It's not like you can just go out and get this massive, bat cave of stuff immediately.
That's a great segue, actually, because the first question we like to ask here at Come Together is, how did you get into this hobby? What was your comic collecting journey like? Oh,
man. Well, I grew up, my dad's kind of a geek, so early on as a kid, I was introduced to more of the classic shows that were a little even before, my time, like Batman 66 and Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Super Friends, the X-Men animated show, Spider-Man animated show in the 90s I got really into, and of course the Batman animated series really hit home for me. But was always interested in the characters, Star Wars as a kid, and then so I read comic books and watched all the movies. I'm a huge movie guy, so that was really interesting. But as far as collecting like figures and statues, the same friend that I introduced me to the guild, I guess I should probably send this guy a card or something, but I was always like, they should make like big figures or like really high end statues of these characters. How cool would that be? I had no idea that that was actually a thing. And then we reconnected, and sure enough, like he had all these Sideshow and Prime 1 statues, and I was like, what are these things? Like, how did you get those? How much are they? And I just like bombard him with questions. So he is responsible for me spending all my money on statues. But no, that's how I got introduced in it. I just immediately like got hooked and got my first one in. It was my Superman premium format. And I mean, I don't know if you personally have ever seen one in person, but like just they're so incredible in person. I just started collecting them, and now, slowly but surely getting all the characters that I love.
Yes, I have seen them, but usually I shy away because I also look at the price tag.
Yeah.
And when you can barely afford the books on your pull list, you got to kind of stay away from the statues.
True, very true. Thank God they have like payment plans and stuff, or else I would have no shot at any of them. So I'm with you on that.
Let's move right along, and you may have already started doing this, but I'm going to formally ask the question anyway. We're going to ask you to highlight 3 parts of your collection. They can be things that are most valuable. They can be things that are just valuable to you or have particular meaning. Where would you like to start?
The first one I would have to say is probably one of the most meaningful ones for me. I've had it since I was a kid. The reason it's special to me is it was actually my dad's. It's an original 12-inch Stormtrooper from the 70s when A New Hope came out. It's like an original 12-inch action figure that he had, and passed it down. And he he's in with like underneath my Vader statue with my Kylo helmet. He stands guard over my Star Wars collection, always over top. He like oversees it, but it's the only action figure that my dad had from when he was collecting that he still has, so he passed it down. So that one's definitely really important to me. That's the first highlight for sure.
I have a sinking feeling that your dad and I are probably about the same age, because I also had one of those at one point.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's still like, he's 60 and he still like plays Call of Duty and like tries to geek out and stuff like that. And he loves it. It's awesome.
It's great. Geekdom knows no age boundaries.
No, absolutely not. I'm 100% gonna be the guy in the freaking nursing home with like, comic book in his hand and like try to get a statue. Like, I used to be Superman. I swear I was back in my day when I was a young whippersnapper. That's totally gonna be me.
That might only be the opportunity I get to actually be able to sit down and do some reading, is when I'm in the nursing home.
Exactly.
All right, what's the second part of your collection you'd like to highlight for us?
Yeah, for me, the second would have to be my Superman Sideshow statue. Just being, it's my first statue, obviously. It's, the character that kind of goes hand in hand with me. So he's just an incredible piece. He kind of is responsible for me getting a collection, and he's just really, really cool. There's so many cool things about the Sideshow statues and the premium formats where they really make their characters their own in the suits and whatnot. And then come to find out, if everybody, I'm sure, seeing my Instagram knows I cosplay Superman, and actually the suit we made for that was inspired by the statues. So for more reasons than not, between cosplay and the statues and stuff like that, that statue definitely holds dear. I love it. And
your final highlight?
Sideshow finally came out with an art print of Space Ghost, and they did a big 18 by 24. I really love this character because it was kind of like my introduction into anything superheroes. And obviously, like, he's really good as a kid because he's got such a sense of humor and it's very lighthearted. I mean, it's not like you don't have to have much brains to kind of figure out what's going on. And he was a good introduction. He was very special to my dad. So he's very hard to find anything that's Space Ghost related, whether it's a figure or book or anything. But Sideshow finally released an art print of him, and there's only 100 that they're making, and I was fortunate enough to pre-order one. And I had a Space Ghost Funko Pop. Besides that, it's literally the first like Space Ghost anything I ever have found. So I'm going to say that one is special because that was my introduction to everything into geek culture. So I'm going to go with that, actually.
When you say Space Ghost, you're talking about the 60s cartoon. You're not talking about Space Ghost Coast to Coast that was on in the 90s.
Right. And I mean, I definitely love both. I saw that HBO Max is airing Space Ghost Coast to Coast on the app, and I was like, yes. But I'm referring to like the original Hanna-Barbera 1960s, like him as actually, you know, like a superhero fighting crime and all that. And I've always said, like, if they modernized him, I actually have a comic where he crosses over with Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps. And I was like, if they really modernized him and used him like with that, like between his powers and his personality, I think he would actually be like a really popular character. But yeah, the original 60s show. I wish they put that on HBO Max too. I would probably be watching that right now if that was the case.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Space Ghost Coast to Coast because I remember
awesome.
watching it in college and most likely altered in some way.
I mean, it would probably be pretty entertaining. Now, I actually just watched the other day. I was watching the one where he's talking to the guy who plays Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, and it's still funny. Like that show still like has great humor, so it holds up.
Very dry, just
Yes,
the way I like it. Okay, so clearly you're a Superman guy. I don't know how I figured that out. The clues are everywhere.
I don't know. I didn't.
Including your Instagram handle. Tell me about your history with that character. I know that you cosplay the character. You've done some what look like professional photo shoots. You've got it right behind you right now. What is it about that character that makes it so unique and you connect with it so much?
Right. So the two characters that I definitely have always connected with, Superman and Batman, much like, you know, a lot of people. For me, I've always been a very friendly, like, always try to do the right thing guy. That's the way my parents brought me up. And I love Batman. He's very grounded and stuff like that, but he's very, you know, it's darker. It's a darker feel, which I love. But I connect with Superman on a lot of levels. I mean, I grew up on a farm. So like immediately there, I grew up like with all the animals and things like that. I had like glasses and like my friends used to kid around with me and call me Clark. Like I have my hair short now, but like my hair would literally like curl up like this. Like all the time. So people would always joke around and call me Clark and stuff like that, especially as on the farm and whatnot. And I just, you know, he's really the bar as far as superheroes go. I mean, he kind of started the whole superhero thing to begin with. And you know, I always appreciated someone with all that power. You know, he could destruct the world if he wanted to, but he's always doing the right thing. And, you know, to kind of quote like what Batman says, like, you know, he's the most human of all of us because, you know, but despite all that power, like he just wants to be a simple guy doing the right thing. And I just think he's a, you know, very inspirational guy. So I've always loved him. And, you know, a lot of people actually like, I won't say hate on him, but they're like, oh, he's like too overpowered or like, he's just such a Boy Scout. And like, I totally get it. Like, and I love Batman because he is the polar opposite, but you know, I appreciate him for what he is. And then, you know, it just kind of trickulated, you know, as I got older, like we're the same height and weight and, you know, the movies are awesome and the suit is cool. So it just kind of fell into place. And now it's just like me and Soups all the time.
I've always had a very mixed response to Superman. Of course, I remember really well when I was a kid, I was probably like 7 or 8. And I would come home from school, and in the afternoon, they always had the old George Reeves black and white serial television show on.
Yeah.
So I like watching that. And then, of course, you know, when Christopher Reeves did it, that was like 1979. So I was probably about 10, 11 years old. So that was great too. And I always think of Superman and Spider-Man as characters of my youth. And then as I got older, you know, I progressed through like different characters, judging like what developmental stage I was at.
Yeah,
and now I'm old and cynical and very sarcastic. So Deadpool's my character.
Deadpool's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with Deadpool, man.
As a self-proclaimed Superman fan, you've probably seen quite a few people perform in that role. Who
Yes.
are your top Supermen that have been on in movies, television, radio, cartoons, animation?
Ooh, that
Who
is
are your
tough.
top picks?
Oh man, Henry Cavill is probably my favorite. I think that Man of Steel is like it's either my favorite or one of my favorite solo movies. I think that movie is so underappreciated and underrated. I think it's a masterpiece, and what Zack Snyder did with that character is so great. So Henry, I'm so excited he's coming back. He is my favorite. I really appreciate Christopher Reeves just because he was really. I mean, you look at the guy and you're just like, yep, that's him. Like that's Superman. You know, and he paved the way a lot for not just Superman, but seeing a superhero in movies, you know, like I remember You'll Believe a Man Can Fly and what that movie did for a lot of people is so cool. I really enjoyed Brandon Routh. Like Superman Returns is maybe a little boring of a movie, but like his portrayal I thought was fantastic. So pretty much all the live action movie versions we've got are really good. And then so I'm drawing a blank on who does the voice acting for him in the modern DC universe for like Justice League Apocalypse War and the Death and Return of Superman.
Was it Tim Daly? I know
Yes,
Tim Daly
Daly.
did it.
Yeah,
Tim
yes,
Daly
yes.
did it for the animated series.
Yeah, he is
Same guy?
that. Yes, that's perfect. Exactly. He is fantastic. I mean, it's like him and Kevin Conroy for Batman and Daly for Superman. That's the voice I hear in my head when I hear Superman. So those are definitely my favorites for sure.
I definitely agree with you about the Superman Returns thing. I think it's kind of underappreciated. One of the scenes that always sticks out to me from that movie is that center field catch of the plane.
Yes. Yes.
That's that was just such a great moment
Yeah.
of a Superman moment where he just like
Yeah.
catches a plane in center field of a
Yeah.
baseball
It's like
stadium
there
and
you
flies
go.
off with it. I just
Yeah,
love
and it's
that moment.
funny with him. He's like he looks a lot like Christopher Reeves, like especially like he's a very tall, kind of like lean, slender guy. In like a modernization, you know, yes, I wish there was like a little more action in that movie, and you know, we didn't see like Lex beating the crap out of him there at the end. I was like, okay, like you know, that's a little different, but you know, I appreciate what they were trying to tell, and I love that they brought him back in the CW, you know, as Kingdom Come Superman for a brief. That was really cool to see him kind of get a chance to don the cape one more time. So yeah, it was really cool.
Henry Cavill, I think, did a very good job. We won't speak of the mustache.
No mustache. I'm glad that the Snyder Cut's happening. So yeah, that will not be a thing anymore.
So, if I understand you correctly, you're relatively new to the collecting scene.
Yeah.
Can you give me a good, interesting collector story that's happened to you within the last few years? Something that really stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. This is kind of a cool story. I was fortunate enough when I was living in North Carolina. There was a secondhand bookstore that was right down the street from where my apartment was, and I just popped in. They had a lot of comic books, and it was just one of those places where I don't think they really understood what they had.
I love
And
those places.
yeah, exactly. So I went in, and you know, I had gotten to the point in collecting where like I started to understand like if you can find like first prints and like first appearances of characters, like those are pretty good to like grab and hold on to for like value. And sure enough, I'm going through this pile, and I was like, I think I recognize that cover from somewhere. It was a first print, first appearance of Black Mask in the 70s, I believe, or yeah, somewhere in the 70s. Googled it. It was worth like 170, 180 bucks. It was in like it's in phenomenal condition. Like I think if I got it graded, it'd probably be like somewhere between an 8.5 or a 9 point something. Like it's really, really good. And I got it for like $1. And it was just like sweet. Like I, stumbled upon this and that's cool. And then another one is I have there's like a smaller Superman statue where he's like holding up the Daily Planet sign. And I was in Manhattan actually for work at Midtown Comics, and this dude that worked there was like, I was like in my work attire, so I was like wearing a suit, and my glasses, my hair was a little longer. And the dude was like, dude, like does anyone ever told you like you look like Clark Kent? I was like, sometimes. And he literally just like gave me this statue. He was like, dude, you need this statue in your collection. Like, do you have any? And at that time, I didn't have my sideshows, so I was like, no, I don't like have any really much Superman stuff. He was like, oh, you need to get this. Like, and he basically just like gave it. It was like a $50 statue for like $10. He was like, you need a Superman set, so here you go. So I was like, thanks. Like, that's nice.
All right, Jake, do you have a grail item that you are really looking to put in your collection, something you've been looking for, something that you are really, really wanting?
Yes.
Action Comics 1.
That would definitely be one. I have like it's probably like a 10th reprint of it, but the first would definitely be, a first print of that would be great. For me, it would probably be the Prime 1 Hush Superman. I really like that. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's like a third scale. It's like 40 inches tall. It's probably the most incredible Superman statue I've seen. It's like so expensive, but it's also like sold out now. So the value is going crazy. If I could have any piece, it would be that. It would just, he's hovering in the artwork, and it's so incredible with the Jim Lee art, inspired. And, I love Jim Lee. So I would just love to have that statue and like have it as a centerpiece of my collection. So if I got my hands on that, that would definitely be like a grail piece that I would have right front and center.
Maybe a nice person is watching this video now and they'll just send it to you.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll have Wes put my mailing address at the bottom, and you can just send it to me. It'd be great.
Besides Superman and Batman, which are two of the mainstays, especially it seems that our guild administration are Superman and Batman crazy.
Yeah.
What other characters really stand out to you that you either relate to or you love to read about? Which are your other favorites?
Yeah, so a few. I mean, I really enjoy characters from multiple universes and getting deep. I'm a big fan of Robin. Just standalone, like not even as a sidekick, but just like his storyline, the Dick Grayson storyline, especially, and him becoming Nightwing has always been fascinating. On the Marvel side, probably actually besides Batman and Superman, my favorite superhero is probably Wolverine. I'm a big Wolverine guy. I just think he's such a little wrecking ball of attitude. And like in the 90s where I grew up, the X-Men animated series, I thought is a fantastic show. I mean, even on Disney Plus, I'll still watch it, and it holds up really, really well. So Wolverine, I've always been a big fan of, and then Captain America, Spider-Man, your boy Deadpool, like he's awesome. And then even other realms, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I grew up as when the Harry Potter books came out as kids, and I was always the age of the characters. So like that was like my favorite book ever, and I read all of those. My big Lord of the Rings fan, so pretty much all these worlds I'm a fan of in some form or fashion. And even if I'm not too much, like I'll at least try and learn about the characters, whether it's because there's some really, really good like second and third tier characters that don't get a lot of love in like movies or like huge comic stories, but they're really, really fascinating characters. Like even like Stargirl just getting her own show, and then to find out like that's Jeff Johns, like that character is based off of his sister that passed, and it's kind of an homage to her, and that show ended up being really good. So I tried to learn about her like currently. So that's one of the examples of like a tier character that I'm starting to get into. So I'm down for whatever.
So I'm going to make a bold statement and say that you're more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. Am I right about that?
Probably so, yes.
Right.
Yeah, you're
so correct. I'm going to ask you the question, which are your 3 favorite Marvel movies from the MCU?
MCU specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, MCU, I know it's, oh man. Infinity War is definitely number 1. I think what they did with all those characters being in one movie and really using Thanos, it was really his story, but I just thought what they did with that was so incredible. The first Avengers, just because I remember going to the theaters, and it was like the first time we've seen like a team up, and it was just like, oh my God, like they're all in there. So that one, and then I really enjoyed. I'm on the fence between Thor Ragnarok and Captain America: First Avenger. Thor Ragnarok, I thought I really liked Taika Waititi's work. I love how they used a little bit of Planet Hulk with like the Hulk and used him as a secondary main character. And then I just love Chris Hemsworth as Thor. He's fantastic. So I love the humor, but also like the storyline in that. So I'll go Infinity War, first Avengers, and then Thor Ragnarok. Either my favorite or my second favorite comic book movie of all time is Logan. I love that movie.
So good. I actually have been thinking about watching it again recently. There's this really great YouTube channel called Movies with Mikey. It's on the Film Joy channel. Are you familiar with it?
I've seen it, yes.
Yeah, he did this sort of like critical breakdown of Logan that was just so moving and very touching. And I really tell everybody that I run into to check out Film Joy and Movies with Mikey, because his breakdowns of movies are just they're inspiring. He's just amazing. He's an amazing commentator, and he's just got a great sense of humor, and he really understands not just like the characters and the story, but he understands like the zeitgeist of everything that kind of goes into the making of a movie. And if you haven't seen his breakdown of Logan, I really recommend it. It's excellent.
I'll have to check that out.
Shout out to my man at Movies at Mikey.
There you go.
Mikey Newman.
Mikey, what's up, buddy?
Some of your cosplay pictures portraying Superman are really very good. Can you tell me a little bit about that, how that's gone in your life, and how that whole thing started, and where you see it going, or if it's going anywhere at all?
Yeah. So, man, like I said, my friends used to always like kid around, call me Clark, and they were always, even my parents are like, someday you need to dress up as Superman and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't, same thing. I was like oblivious at the time. Like I didn't even realize like cosplay was a thing. And then, I think, I'm a former athlete. I played football my whole life, and I always worked out really hard, and training is a big part of my life. But then, you get older and that's done. You're like, what, other than like your appearance, it's just like, what am I really working out for? Like, I don't have anything to push myself. And I was like, I want to do something different. And I stumbled across a few cosplayers on Instagram, Liz Wonder, Nashville Night, and some of these other incredible cosplayers. First, they have huge followings, which is really cool, but they really were, it was more than just, them dressing up as a character and having fun stuff like they really use like their platform as a character to help like inspire people and visit kids and things like that. And I always have had like a passion for helping, kids, whether it was like football camps and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, like maybe I can take a little bit of like someone I can at least sort of resemble, and like on that matter. And then 2, like if I'm playing Superman, like I'm going to have to really like bust my butt to get in good shape. And I have something to push me for. And then I may be able to help some people, because I mean, at the end of the day, the good thing about Superman is, he's a symbol of hope and can bring some joy. And there's enough crap in the world, especially right now. So if maybe I can bring some happiness out of it, like that'll be great. And it really just started as that. So I just asked those people, like, where'd you get your suit? Like, where do I even start? And they were very, very nice people. I still talk to them all the time. And they pointed me in a direction. I got a suit from Napier's, and then we did it based off my statue, and that was incredible. And then I just did my homework and found Ryan Sims out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he's Ryan Sims Photography. He is unbelievable at photography and Photoshop and editing, and he's a huge geek at heart too, which is really, really cool. So like he knows what you're talking about. We're like, hey, I'm going to do, I just had something today, like I was in, Superman on Throne in the Fortress Solitude. He knows what I'm talking about, and he does it. So we basically had a couple months leading up while I was waiting for my suit. And he made a Pinterest board, and we just threw in images of like Superman from like famous covers and art prints that we just were like, this is really cool. So then I went out there, and we did, I think, 300 or 400 pictures. And it was awesome. Like we just went through the list, and we did all these recreations and things like that. And, I think it's gone really well. And going forward, I was fortunate enough, other cosplayers seem to enjoy it as well, and people. So I try and do, I joined a group on Facebook called Operation Birthday, where basically it's a board where people, like parents, can, share a picture of their kid and let us know when it's like their birthday or if they're like sick or something like that, and request to have you send a video. So you get dressed up and you send a birthday video, or you FaceTime them, and they get super excited. And once this COVID and all this craziness drops, we have a lot of like children's hospital visits planned. And now I'm going to get to do shoots with like Liz and Nashville Night, and I have a lot of collaborations with some of these other cosplayers that are really well known in the works, especially the DC characters. So there's going to be a Batman, Superman, a Wonder Woman, Superman, and a Trinity Superman, and then a full Justice League shoot. So it's going to be awesome. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. And it's been really, really rewarding on, just trying to do stuff for kids. And yeah, it's awesome.
So have you gone to many conventions as a cosplayer?
I've not. I've never got to do it yet. I've been to Comic-Cons as myself, but since I've got my suit, like I did the photo shoot, and then had some lined up. I was going to try and go to New York City Comic-Con and Dragon Con, and I was ready to go, and then COVID happened, and now there's no Comic-Con. So it's going to be really cool whenever I can and get to dress up and meet everybody. So. Hopefully soon, fingers crossed that something soon will happen.
Yeah, the COVID has definitely put a big stake in the heart of a lot of the geekdoms and stuff that's been going on with cons and movies and television shows, and everything's delayed and it's crazy. Have you cosplayed around large groups of people, and what sort of reactions do you get?
Yeah, I did like a test in the suit when I first got it. And it was around Halloween. So like I went out to like a big like neighborhood get together, and it was like a full neighborhood, and everyone, their parents and their kids, come out. It's just like a place where you can come and everybody just gets their candy in one place. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna have fun with that. This is gonna be a good way where I won't look like a total weirdo for just like randomly going out in a Superman suit, but let's just see what happens. So I went, and I spent about 3 hours in the same spot taking a picture with person. It started as kids, and then eventually I could see, and then they're like, well, can we take a picture with you too? And then I take a picture with their parents, and it's the weirdest thing. Like I can't even imagine what it must feel like for like Henry Cavill or like Brandon Routh or any of these people that have played him like in the movie. But you get in a suit, and like your confidence goes from like here to like way up there, and it's weird. Like people get really, really just like giddy around you, and it's the weirdest thing because it's like silly old me, to me, and like whatever, but people are like oh, like you're Superman. Like, and it's the weirdest response, but it's really, really cool. And it's the reason I can never do Batman, because I'm horrible at keeping a straight face, and I would be horrible at doing the whole brooding, dark thing at all. I would be terrible at it. So thank God Superman's like a nice, friendly guy, and I can just kind of be myself. But yeah, it's a really interesting experience. It's like I say, it's in a really cool way. It's really cool.
Yeah, that phenomena you're telling about, I used to teach high school theater, and there's a term for it. It's called suspension of disbelief. So we have this natural button in us that when we see something that we know isn't real, but we kind of want it to be real, and we want to, we want to be a part of it. We want to enjoy it in a real and meaningful way. We suspend our disbelief, and we just kind of like go along with it. And I find in the few times that I've done it, that is very strong, especially among the geekdom.
Yeah.
Because they really wish it was real. They want it to be real in that moment, especially if the cosplay is particularly good.
Yeah, and then you get kids at a certain age where they're so oblivious, like you are like them. Like I had a kid. This is a really funny story. It's like one of the first visits I made, and this kid was like really, really cool kid. He was really funny and asking a million questions, and he was like, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Could you beat up my dad?" And I just like lost it because he was so serious, and I was like, I mean, I could, but I was like, that is not what we do. Like, we're nice to everybody. And, but it was so funny because he was so serious. He was like, could you beat up my dad? And like, his dad's like right there. And I'm like, I mean, kind of, and luckily I'm like just waiting for the kid who's going to like ask me to fly or like do heat vision. And I'm going to have to like disappoint him. And like, I've already like have like prerequisited answers to like counteract that and be like, oh, I don't want to, it's not safe and blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, I've had some really funny kids like ask me some funny stuff.
That's fun. Can you beat up my dad? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I had another kid.
Bring him
I had
over
another
here.
kid. Yeah, I had another kid. Our parents were like, "What do you want to ask Superman?" He was like, "How do you poop in your suit?" I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I don't know how to answer that. Like,
you could pull a Tony Stark and go like this.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned you used to play football, you're athletic, you do workouts. Do you have any other non-comic or collector-related hobbies that you participate in?
Yeah, I'm really big. I was really big into like movies and stuff. I actually did drama. Like I was like the jock and played football and basketball and baseball, but I was like such a geek at the same time. And it was like total opposite group of friends. I'd have like my drama friends and then my sport friends, and I would like try and like hide my geekiness to my teammates because they would just pick on me and call me Clarky and stuff like that. But yeah, I was huge into sports. My whole family like are athletes, and I've had really like a ball in my hand since I was old enough to walk. And sports are really my biggest passion outside of comics. Before injuries ended that, and I was like, all right, I'm done with that. So, but I've really liked traveling. I was fortunate enough, between my dad traveling for work as a kid to get to visit some cool countries, and then with my line of work, I've gotten to travel around United States a good amount. So it's really cool to see other places that are different cultures and learn about what's interesting and what people do or wear or say in other parts of the world. Especially I've always been into history, so I was fortunate enough to go to Germany and like see all the castles there and some of like the medieval stuff. I find all that stuff like really fascinating.
Yeah, we didn't really ask this, so I'll ask now. I'm assuming that being the Guild YouTube director doesn't pay an awful lot. What is it that you do to buy all your expensive statues?
Yeah, so I work for a corporate housing company here in DC. I'm a business development director for them. So essentially, I work with a lot of government embassies, work with the government on programs, and basically like, for example, like if the embassy of France like had some of their people come from France, basically my company sets them up in like a luxury apartment and gets them furniture and basically gets all their living situations situated before they arrive. So when they come over for 6 months or a year, they have a place to live besides like living out of a Holiday Inn Express every night. So basically that's my job, is to reach out to clients that way and help embassies and government officials like get set up for temporary living. And we work with some sports teams as well. Like we did some for the Dodgers in the past couple of weeks, like for spring training and stuff, whenever that happens. So yeah, it's a pretty cool job. I get to talk, and I'm a social butterfly, so I like to just talk with people, and it's rewarding.
So a lot of your acting skills are being put to use, I assume. Did you go to school for this job, or is this just something you kind of like fell into?
No, I wanted to get into like a fitness trainer or like something with sports, whether it be like coaching or something like that. And I found out what it paid, and like you kind of really have to start really bottom level and like travel. And I always wanted something where I could use my people skills, but yet, not have to do like all the travel like 24/7 or anything like that. And I just kind of stumbled into this field. I got lucky with, getting a shot with a company, and then, building my career up to what it is now. And, I get to work from home, 4 days of the week, right now, every day. But even before all this, I work from home 4 days a week. So I get to just, wear gym clothes every day, and I get to hang out with my dog and my family and things like that. And it's a really rewarding job. Every day is a little bit different, and it's never really boring. So yeah, I was just kind of lucky to stumble into it.
Are you a married guy?
No. I wish I'd have no time at all between training and cosplay and doing the guild stuff and work and my dog and my family and golf. I mean, I it's hard. I just am a busy guy.
So, ladies, he's still looking for his Lois Lane.
That is true. Yeah, Lois, I'm available.
All right, Jake. So it's time for you to tell us your embarrassing collector's story. Do you have one for us?
Ian, bearded comic guy, is an executive in the group, and he's awesome. So what's up, Ian? We had a conversation on one of our shows, and we were talking about dream statues. Like, what would our dream piece be? He is a huge Hulk fan. Hulk is his guy, and Sideshow makes a Wolverine versus Hulk statue, like that's pretty much a split image of Hulk 181, the first appearance of Wolverine. It's really, really cool. Sure enough, I'm on eBay and I'm just like messing around. I find there it is. That's the Hulk Wolverine statue. And it was like an insanely good price. I'm like, the statue's like $700. This is like $180. Like, why is this person getting rid of this? And I was like, dude, you gotta get this statue. Like, look what I found. I hooked you up. Like, this is like your dream piece for like literally like a quarter of the price. He was like, yes, like, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. He orders it, and the statue is a quarter scale, so it's like, big. This statue was like a 12th scale, so it was like that big of the same. And I like thought I'd hooked him up with this awesome dream statue, and it turned out to be like a micro machine, and he wasted that money. And I was like, oh, I am so sorry. Like, I felt like such a douchebag. Yeah, it was like totally a ripoff. And that nothing like that's ever happened to me personally, but like the one time I try and like hook somebody else up, yeah. So that was exceptionally embarrassing, and Ian, I'm sorry for that. That was horrible.
All right. So, as a guild insider, Jake, can you tell us a little bit about what the guild has planned for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, we're trying very hard to, come up with new content here on YouTube. We, pretty recently just got onto Spotify as well as Google Podcasts. So any content you hear, whether it's this show or World's Finest or State of the Union or any of that, we're now going to be on those podcast listening platforms. We're trying to get into like that iTunes and things like that as well. We're also really getting into some interviews with some, really cool people. Just in the past week, we interviewed Jay Towers, who's an iHeartRadio media guy, and he was in Batman v Superman. So we have to talk to him. We've interviewed Tommy Gunn, who owns an artist studio, and they help like design some of the statues for some of these companies, and he's got just unbelievable stories. So we have some interviews with him, and we're really working on that. And then we thought it'd be cool to have some apparel. So on TeePublic, we have now Comic Collectors Guild swag. So you get T-shirts and mugs and hoodies and just cool apparel with some of your favorite like superheroes on it. And, we're just really trying to come up with new ideas to be able to put out there so our members can have the best experience possible. And, we really, really, really can't like say enough how much we like appreciate you guys to participate. So, if you guys ever want to come on a show or talk to us or have a T-shirt idea or a character you want to talk about, like we're all open ears, and we'd love to have you. Like genuinely, I love getting a chance to talk with everybody and learn about new characters in different collection stories. And I appreciate you for letting us get to know some of these guys that are a part of the guild. So yeah, it's a good time. We're having a great time.
So what's the best way for guild members to contact you or other administrators?
Yeah, the best way would probably be to DM. Well, if you want the Comic Collectors Guild, DM their Instagram, Comic Collectors Guild at Comic Collectors Guild. Also for me, I mean, you can just go right on my Instagram at Superman14JF and shoot me a DM. I love talking to everybody, so like I'm definitely not one of those people that are like, who's this messaging me? Like I love talking to people, so hit me up. I'd love to talk with you or answer a question, or if you have an idea, like I'm open to so many suggestions. So please hit me up. I would love to talk with you guys. So yeah, that's probably the best way.
Well, Jake, it's been really great having you on the show today. Do you have any other messages you'd like to share with Guild members? Any other information you want to put out there about upcoming events?
Really, obviously it's a crazy time right now. A lot of negativity and a little undivided world, right? Our divided world right now. So I would just encourage everybody to, this community is really, really special. Feel free to reach out to everybody, be kind to one another. We're going to try and come up with as much content to kind of be a distraction or, welcome, any form of happiness in this crazy time as possible. So if you have any ideas, just, reach out anytime. Just know we're an open door. And we really appreciate each and every one of you for being members and being a part of this community. I think it's really cool that, regardless of everything else, we have these characters and books and this common interest that is like comics. So we just appreciate you all and hope that you get some satisfaction and a little bit of a distraction from it all.
So say we all. And with that, we're going to call it a day. Thanks so much for coming on, Jake.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Stay safe out there.
All right.
And that's a wrap for Come Together, the show that spotlights membership for the Comic Collectors Guild. If you would like to be spotlighted for our show, please send me a message in my DMs on Instagram at Comics Addicts. You can also contact our administration. Their handles will be at the end of the video. The Comics Collectors Guild is an open forum for all collectors and fanboys. Regardless of who you are and what you love, you are welcome to join for free. Just contact one of our administrators for details. It doesn't matter if you are a lover of cosplay or if you're an artist, writer, inker. If you love Doctor Who, manga, Lord of the Rings, anime, all are welcome to join. Please consider subscribing, leave us a like or a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.